Hi guys, today with me I have Coach John Newell. He's originally from California, but he's coaching now in Tennessee, has incredible coaching experience. He's been a high school athlete himself, very successful in college, and a professional athlete, and now a coach. He's going to share some incredible things that he learned over the years. He's going to talk to you guys about things that he's looking for in recruits. Very important how he approaches recruiting process. So stick around, check it out. If you have some time to review this podcast, it's going to help us a lot. And do ask questions. We'll try to see what we can answer. And please do take notes, because Coach Joe Newell is taking some time to share with you guys some incredible things that's going to be very helpful for your recruiting, for your coaching. If you're a young coach and you're trying to be a throws coach, he's going to share with you some details about that as well. And I think you're going to find it very, very, very helpful. So stick around and enjoy. All right, John Newell from Tennessee. John is a longtime coach, very experienced coach. We know each other for some time now. John, welcome. How you been?
Great. Thanks for having me.
How's everything in Tennessee with all this craziness going on?
It hasn't really started to erupt. I think people are doing a good job of social distancing, and especially in Knox County. I think 73 cases, confirmed cases. So it's definitely changed the way of life. My brother, my brother's out here. He's from California. He came out about 5 weeks ago, just for, he wasn't planning on staying this long, but he's been here, and he doesn't want to go back to California just because of the population.
That's right.
But so far, the grocery stores are getting, keeping their stocks up, and, still can't find hand sanitizer, but
or paper towels, right? It's crazy. It's really unusual times. This never happened. When did something like this happen in our time, right? So I think when we talked about this, how amazing job people are doing staying home, and how medical services are doing an incredible job, and they're true heroes while we're going through this. So hopefully we'll end soon, and we can continue with the track and field season.
Yeah, just life. My brother said it. He said this is probably the end of the handshake.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
It's going to change society.
No, it's really unusual. Like, how do you, makes it a little awkward, right? You don't want to, it's like, it's not you, it's me kind of thing, right? Like, I don't know if I have it, right?
Yeah, well, that's what, again, my brother listens to talk radio, and he just keeps saying, he's like, just treat it as if you had it and you don't want to give it to someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
Good way to go about it.
Well, we'll stay tuned. Hopefully, like I said, this whole thing comes down together. I wanted to talk to you about everything from the birth. I want to know everything about you. Obviously, we know each other for a while now, since 2005. So I have very fond experiences at UGA, and you were a big help for me over there. When I first came, you introduced me to American culture, you and everybody else on the team, right? Yeah. You guys were very helpful to me. How did you get into throwing in the first place?
So I didn't start throwing until my junior year of high school, which is kind of late. My mom, I played football all throughout high school. I wrestled all throughout high school. And then I actually played in the band. Okay. So I played in the jazz band. Yeah. I was super, super cool. Super cool.
You're very talented. I know
that. I was a hard work. I didn't have the gift of music, but I've always loved it.
But that's not true. I heard you play. You play really well.
That's right.
In auditoriums, in classrooms, I heard you play.
In DanFest.
In band, yeah. That was very good.
No, DanFest.
DanFest, yes. Oh, that's
according to Papa, the most epic night in his life. I wish it actually is recorded. I think Lucas Lucas might have a copy of DanFest.
Oh, he's gonna be next on this podcast interview / YouTube. He's gonna have to bring that.
But so with throwing, to make a long story short, I kind of switched my friend group a little bit. My parents, I grew up Mormon in Woodland, California. Actually grew up with Jill Camarina, who was a former American record holder. So I've known Jill since we were 10 years old. Wow. We both went to the same church, and she was good at all sports. Yep. And started working out at the same place as her. I got Gary Mann's patio in Woodland, where I learned how to lift. And it was a unique time being from Woodland. And we had, more Division I athletes through that 4-year time. The most notable one is probably Dustin Pedroia, who was played for the Red Sox. He's a World Series MVP. Oh, wow. And he was a year younger than me. So Jill and Katie McKeever, Paul Pinniger played football at Fresno State. Just a really unique time. Great coaches in high school. But look, again, changed my friend group up because I was getting in a little bit of trouble, and started hanging out with kids that were a little more focused on school. My buddy Twan, my best friend in high school. I wouldn't be in college without him. He's like 5'6" Vietnamese guy with a temper. But I actually went to go play tennis my junior year. Okay. I tried out for tennis. Yeah. Because all my friends were playing tennis. And I got through the second day of tryouts, and Twan was like, dude, you kind of suck at this. He's like, you should just go throw. You should go do.
You have a strong forehand, but you can't. Precision is not your strength. Huh?
Exactly. So the throwing coach there, Rob Rathman, phenomenal coach. He was also my football coach. Super intense guy. He coached Jill, Katie McKeever. We had 3 girls when I was there, all over 44 feet in the shot. And then
at the same time?
Same time. Jill was 50 feet 10. Katie McKeever threw 47.9. And Maureen Pacheco threw 44.10. Okay. And that was all on the same team. And then, Jill was a 160-foot discus thrower in high school. Katie threw 171. Maureen threw 145. And then we had like 40 throwers, So I came out, and my first day, there was a kid that picked on me growing up. Imagine a kind of half ginger kid that was chubby growing up. I kind of main target. And I was pretty shy. Yeah. But I came out there, and he was throwing. He was like a 44-foot shot putter, and he was like, "You're never gonna beat me," and kind of like, you have no business here. But I to be honest, from the first day, I fell in love with it, and rapping was a big part of that because he was he wasn't falsely positive. Okay. He had high expectations, and he was very passionate. And he saw that. Obviously, Jill had a ton of talent. Katie had a ton of talent. And he was trying to get me to come out since, my freshman year to throw. And for 2 years, I didn't because I kept wrestling. Wrestling was a winter sport. Yeah. And then I did freestyle wrestling in the spring. Okay. So I didn't do freestyle my junior year. Started throwing my first meet. I threw 39 feet and 101 feet in the discus. So, and then, but I had a small friend group. But still, I've always been kind of like a loner. And like on the weekends and stuff, my parents were pretty strict, so I couldn't stay out super late. So I was usually up really early in the weekends, and I just go throw every Saturday, just until I got tired. Sometimes I'd go eat, come back and throw, like 100 throw sessions, and that's where it started. And then I developed a love for it. My first year, I ended up throwing my junior year 53 feet in the shot, 150 in the discus. And then I ended up my senior year throwing 58 feet in the shot put and 165 in the discus as a lefty. And I did that. And Coach Rappin was like, after I threw 58 feet, it was like a 5-foot PR. He's like, "You just earned yourself a scholarship." I said, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, you want to do this in college?" I was like, "That would be awesome." He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to pay you to do it." And I was like, people can get scholarships for track? Like, I was.
You did football and wrestling. I never thought of it.
Yeah, I got recruited just a little for football, but it was just, yeah, I was like, yeah, that would actually be awesome because I didn't know what I was going to do. Like at that point, I hadn't done any of my college applications, and it was like the spring of my senior year. No one in my family, I have 6 people in my family, and no one had gone to college, So
it was never a thought, basically.
Yeah,
right?
never a thought. And actually, Mo Satara, he was at Cal Poly Pomona, recruited me back when he had hair on his head and less hair on his body. He recruited me. And ironically, going to Georgia and throwing for Don coached Mo. But the path of throwing, I'm kind of long-winded here. I ended up going to Cal Poly Pomona in Los Angeles for 1 semester. And I got down to LA and I was just like, this is not for me. Okay. Really liked the teammates there. Hank Krejci, was the coach when I was there, but just talking to Rathbun, he was like, you're not stuck there. You could transfer back. There's a coach at Sacramento City College. And one of my high school teammates, Drew Tomlinson, was going to Sac City. Okay. So I go back home, because at that point, there's family stuff going on, and I wanted to be around for my, younger sisters. And I walked into Sacramento City College, and Justin Carvalho was the coach there, and he was a hammer thrower at the time. He's a 72-meter guy. He coached Jordan Young for a little while. He has a club in Northwest Ohio, Justin Welch, Nick Lane. He's a really, really good coach. And we became kind of more training partners than anything. And he was super dedicated athlete, kept very detailed journals. And, he threw at Sacramento State in college. And he would tell me stories of going to national meets and, like the South Carolina throwers at the time, like Bert Soren, Brad Snyder, Kevin Mannon, Wolfie, Ryan Harrison. And it was just like, yeah, that's what I want to be. And this was way before YouTube, but you had like throwfar.org, I think, and you could download clips. Yep. They would take 10 minutes to download a 10-second clip.
Yes. On a dial, right?
Yeah, I remember downloading John Godina's collegiate record throw at Knoxville, 22 meters while he's at UCLA. And I probably watched that 40,000 times, and had a video library at Sac City. And they had, you could rent out VHS tapes and watch them on a little, like, 10-inch screen. Wow. And they had a track and field video of all, like, slow motion throws. So I think everyone's seeing it now. It's like Randy Barnes fouling like 75 feet when he was in, his freshman year, and like all the greats, Tafralis. And so at Sac City, our coach was a volunteer coach. He worked full time, so he didn't come to practice till like 3 or 4 every day. Wow. Sometimes I'd be done with classes at noon. So I'd, get some lunch and go literally watch film for hours. Yeah.
Before the workout, before the practice.
Yeah. On a little slow motion. It was just one video. I couldn't like get a whole bunch of videos, no Instagram to speak of, and, so I threw 58 feet in high school with the 12 as a glider. And then in February of my freshman year of college, I threw in my first meet and threw 45 feet from the glide. And the great thrower from Cal, Reuben Williams.
Oh, yeah.
He was there, and he was spinning, and he was a glider in high school. And I was like, I want to spin. My coach is like, all right, you got to commit to it. He's like, it's not going to come quick, So I started the process of spinning in the shot, which was my first love. And he also, Justin Carvalho, with him being a hammer thrower, we'd throw hammer every day with him. I hated hammer at the beginning. It was just so frustrating. And he was also a competitive Olympic lifter. So he coached us in throwing and Olympic lifting. He was very strict on lifting. But my freshman year, first meet, 45 feet. And my last meet, 59 feet.
Mm.
So I had a 14-foot improvement my freshman year.
Yeah.
And I was just gonna, my plan was to go 2 years at Sac City and then go to UC Davis, which is right by my hometown of Woodland.
Yeah.
And I made a junior team that year and threw 59 feet, and actually made the junior team with Jill. Jill was also on the team, so it was kind of cool.
Oh man,
from Woodland on the team, and yeah, threw 59 feet, and then hammer progressed, and I came back from our junior trip, and I'd maybe had one conversation with the UC Davis coach, and come back, and my mom's like, all these old men are have left messages for you. I was like, guys, these coaches from other schools, what's going on? And
it blew up.
I don't know. And my coach, high school coach, who I still talk to a lot back then, he was like, all right, you have these coaches that want to recruit you. And I was just like, what? And yeah, it was, a pretty life-changing thing, like to be able to, my parents couldn't afford college, so to have those options was really cool. And he's, my high school coach was like, you hear the schools, this is what I think about the coaches, but you need to make this decision on your own. And back then there wasn't as many rules for
NCAA.
So I had a lot of fun. I went to, my first visit was at LSU, and Matt Vincent, who is the Hate Brand Goods founder, CEO, he was my host. He threw at LSU, and super cool guy. And I came back being like, oh, I'm going to LSU. And my coach is like, hold on, you got to finish.
It's only a first trip, right?
Yeah. And, so in LSU, Kentucky, with Coach Kennison, who was a great guy. Jeff Chicoine was there, also a great guy.
Yep.
He was my host there. And then I went to South Carolina. Sarge was still there. He's one of the longest.
He was there then. He's there now.
Yeah. Again, great guy. And then my last visit was Georgia. And, I knew Lucas McKay, the coach at Penn State. We threw
California Bond.
Yeah, threw together throughout high school. And he was really good in high school, and he's always been like an older brother figure to me. And he's like, man, I'm going to Georgia. And my recruiting weekend was the weekend after his. And Reese was my host. Don then is the same as Don now. You talk to him and you're just like, this guy's really smart. And at the time, you had Adam Nelson there, Reese, Brad Snyder, Jason Tonks, Chocolates, Bro Greer. And it was just a really unique training group that isn't, there's nothing like it now because you can't.
I don't think it ever be. Yeah, it will be. That was the time to have that, and that it cannot be replicated.
Yeah. And I think about that a lot now. Obviously, coaching post-collegiates, I did it in 2015 and 16 with Tavis Bailey and Stephen Mosier on that Olympic push, but they both had full-time jobs, and we trained 4 or 5 times a week, and they do a lot of the lifting on their own. But I would coach them from 6 o'clock at night to sometimes 11. And I had to sacrifice a lot in my personal life to be able to do that. But it was something I've always wanted to help someone to the process of making
becoming Olympian. Becoming Olympian.
And it was really special. And Tavis is still a great friend. He's a one of a kind guy. Mosier, one of the strongest, craziest things I've ever seen in training.
Incredible.
But now, Stamatia Scarvelis is here training, but Alex Papadimitriou is the Greek coach. He does writes all of our training. And
he was 80-meter hammer throw, right?
Oh yeah, from Greece, yes. And he's been a huge part of her success, going 71-33. And it's one of those things where, talking to her, she's like, she has a job here. And so she has a job at the university, so she can train with the team every now and then, but has to do a lot of stuff on her own. And I can't. It's just really hard to do post-collegiates, So, during the summers, she was supposed to be in Europe right now, before all this stuff happened. Yeah. But I thought it was best for her training if, she spends the important time with Alex in Greece. And we did it the first year. She went over there where she was on our training and tried to keep doing it over there. But I just after she got done with her college career, let's talk with Alex and revamp everything.
Because now she's going to be just a hammer thrower, right? She's not going to do shot put discus, right? As much.
Yeah.
Right? So that's everything changes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No school.
Yeah. And, so the post-collegiate thing, it's really hard. I couldn't do it just me, now because with the rules and just the time you have to spend recruiting and the time you spend out on the track, So I understand there's not a huge, can't think of anyone who has a big post-collegiate group, maybe outside of John Smith with the girls. And that's a unique situation, with wife being the head coach. Dawn had a ton of post-collegiates, and a couple of years ago that all ended. Right? So I think you do it with Jordan, right?
Yeah, no, you can have a couple, but it can be really hard. Like you said, with the rules and everything, it's extremely hard now.
Yeah.
No, you throw some amazing stuff here, and the reason I'm doing all these things is for our student athletes who are recruiting to get to know us, right? And get to know our philosophy of training and get to know the path, what it takes, what you can avoid, things that you can avoid, what are things that are important to save your time. And you mentioned really important of your coach Rappin, right? And the group that you were hanging out with, how big of an influence that had on you. So how, can you talk to us again a little bit of how important it is who you hang out with, right? You say you are who you hang out with, right? Or you spend time. How important was that to have a coach Rappin so believe in you and to have that group?
Yeah, well, what happened is I got in a fight and got stabbed, and kind of just made me think it's
is this where I'm heading to?
Yeah. So it was like, well, let's kind of change the friend group, which was tough. But staying focused, staying around friends that are motivated, and I always try to have friends that are a lot smarter than I am, but the people who you hang out with are a big indicator of who you are and where you're going, who
you're gonna end up being. Yeah.
Exactly. So social media, we didn't have it back then, but now you can kind of get a feel for who the kid is, so just depending on what they're posting. I'm very selective about who I recruit. I don't think I'm like a mass email recruit everyone. I kind of sit and wait and try to get a feel for the kids, and a lot of times I end up recruiting kids that other coaches might think, why them? But I think Dawn was talking about our time at Georgia, was such a genius in setting up training groups. Who you threw with, who you lifted with, what days he'd have me throw with
which people,
so that part was genius, and the group pushed everyone, right? So when I think about recruiting, is when I bring a kid in, how are they going to impact the group? Because the kids that I have now, the athletes, they're my main priority. And I don't want to sacrifice time for the kids who are working the hard every day to go, and spend 2 days out of the week recruiting. Sometimes you got to go on a recruiting trip and that. But I think for the kids, that might be watching this, be wary of what you post, and again, be around people that are motivated.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't have to be necessarily for throwing, but just positive people.
Yeah. That's, we talk about social media now and how important it is, the groups that you hang out with, how important it is, everything that you do, what coaches look for, right? So us recruiting, we look for an athlete that can fit our group, right? An athlete who will not mess up what we have going on. And you don't want a kid who can post, crazy things on social media. Like, okay, is this kid good for the group? Like, is this kid serious about training? Is this kid going to get in trouble all the time? So that's very, very, I like what you indicated there and highlighted it, because I don't think kids these days realized how important these things on social media, how they present themselves, how important it is to coaches, and how us now with experience, some experience, and older coaches even more, how can you already tell, like, oh, this kid might not fit my group, right?
Yeah. It's way different now, and even now, I mean, with social media, you're my favorite throws pace, UVA throws, love it.
Yeah.
Pick up ball. But, you can see it's almost, kids might be marketing themselves a certain way. And they understand the recruiting process a lot better now. And I think it's easier for a kid to reach out and get in contact with a coach, which is a really positive thing. And for coaches, you have to have a social media presence. Yeah. That's what kids aren't watching TV anymore. They're on their phone.
So yeah, everything that we do now in terms of recruiting has to be directed toward where the kids are, right? So if they're hanging out on Instagram or they're on a Facebook, the coach doesn't have to be there the whole time, 24/7, but he needs to have contact, right? If I'm an athlete looking for a coach and I'm spending most of my time on Instagram, I'm gonna type in Tennessee throws, Vol throws, I'm gonna go UVA throws, I'm gonna check it out and then try to contact the coach there. So it's adjustment that we need to do, definitely. And then the kids, what I appreciate what you indicated, that kids understand now how they need to be perceived of, right? So they post their lifting, they post their throwing, they post about what they're doing in high school kids, right? And I like seeing that. It's telling me that this kid wants to get better. He wants to learn. He or she, right? They want to throw far, and it means a lot. It means a lot to us coaches who see that. So it's now not everybody still has social media, right? And reaching out to those coaches and then talking to coaches, high school coaches, parents, and still comes back to the same thing, right? How's this kid in the practice? Who's he hanging out with? How determined is he or she, right? So the
relationship they have with their parents. I've had kids, come on visits, and how they interact with their parents is really telling. If they're respectful to their parents, if you can tell they're, a parent-child relationship, that's important. If the kids running everything, that's tough. If they're kind of yelling at their parents, or, you could see the vibe. Like who is a prisoner's controlling the prison, or is there an understanding of not just authority, but
that's huge. For me, that's the biggest one, the respect, right? And I think some kids might not understand, especially for the big schools like yours and mine, right? Like the big schools, right? The D1, top 5, right? You can throw as far as you want, but if you have no respect, I'm not going to recruit you, right? It doesn't matter how far you throw. For us, we have choice, right? I've been fortunate to recruit some incredible people. You're being fortunate to recruit some incredible people and get to your school where you are, right? So we can choose. And if you want to get to the best, then you have to respect the process, and you just have to be mindful of other people, right? It's the world is not centered around.
Sometimes kids just like getting recruited, and there's nothing wrong with that. They want to be able to go on their 5 visits, and they want 20 coaches to call, you know. I've recruited kids that have had those tendencies that have turned out to be great. But for me, like I said before, I feel like I'm selective in my recruiting.
So perfect. Segue to my next question is, what are you looking for in recruiting?
An athlete. I want to see. I have a tendency to like find maybe diamonds in the rough. You know, kids that have a big passion for throwing, that have are gonna, like someone like a Joe Maxwell, 60 through 1989, 65 feet, Canadian guy.
So many schools passed on that kid.
Yeah. But he called me his junior year, and thanks to Rob Young, who, like, Jordan's dad.
He has an eye for talent too. Yeah,
he does. And Joe was asking him about schools, and he gave him a list. And Joe called me, and I mean, he wasn't, Jordan's 6'5", 6'6", and just a specimen. And he's like, the kid's really small, but Joe, talking to him, he did his research. He coached himself. There was no one forcing him to practice. And he has a ring outside of his house, and he'll throw in the snow up in Manitoulin Island, Northern Ontario. And, traveling to meets, and he's super proactive. And, he came down here on his visit, and obviously it was he was small, but he had really big joints. And I was like, it's okay. Like, our cafeteria is good. He's going to be able to put on weight. It might take him some time, but his first year, he was second to last at the indoor SEC meet, and then he just won, and that was such a great moment for him, and no one deserves it more, But in that, so that always feels really good, and especially, he was a great competitor as well, So that's one.
That's what you saw,
Yeah, I mean, you can throw really far. That's great. But I also look at how you do when the pressure's on. I think New Balance, the high school New Balance meet, is a great indicator because it's such a big stage. The kid could do well there. Like, that's where I found Jordan West, and it was a little unfortunate when he was coming up because he had, like, Tripp throwing 73 feet. You had Jordan Geist. You had Bronson Osborne. You had Connor Bandel, all throwing over 21 meters, but Jordan went there and PR, and everyone was gunning for, coaching-wise, wanted to talk to, Geist and those guys.
Yeah.
But I was like, you can have, I was like, I felt like the best time that I could, my time would be better spent recruiting Jordan because I liked him.
Yeah.
And he wasn't really phased by the competition. He was trying to go out there and do the best that he could. So that's one thing that I look for. Obviously, are you going to have the ability to throw the college weights for the guys? For the girls, I haven't figured it out, man. I haven't, but luckily I've been able to coach.
Some incredible athletes on the women's side.
And like at Michigan State when I was there, Beth Roll was probably easily the most decorated female that I coached.
You go third in indoors, right, or second indoors in weight?
Yeah, and he made 4 consecutive NCAA discus finals for Eugene, and she was a 39-foot shot putter in high school and a total walk-on. And I've coached some great ones. Cassie Wortham, I didn't recruit Cassie. Frazier recruited Cassie, but super hard worker. We have Chandler Hayden here now, who I think is going to be really good. Broke her freshman record, and Latavia Maines is a JC girl, and she's doing phenomenal. But it's two different things: recruiting guys and recruiting girls. Some coaches are really good at one, and finding that talent. But the scholarship amount that you have for the women being a lot more it changes the game too. And for the guys, it really changes it because you can't afford to miss on a guy.
Yeah.
And so I look for that. And then along those same lines, are they going to be able to come in and do what my coach, my boss, wants the team to do, which is a bigger nationals push. At Michigan State, it was a bigger conference team. And so you could spend time developing kids, and, now the Big Ten's crazy. Throws are really deep. But at the same time, being in the SEC, as you know, it's not easy. There might be some down years, but that changes real quick when someone like Newell comes in.
Yeah.
And it's been challenging. But are they going to be able to contribute really they have to contribute within 2 years?
Yeah.
And that takes some pressure, and are they going to be able to handle the push of, hey, like, we need to
score nationals or score a conference, depending what the head coach wants. Yeah. No, I think you gave us a couple of really, really insightful things here. And for the guys and girls who are looking at this, what Coach Newell just said, it depends when it comes to recruiting. Obviously, if he's calling you, you are a talent. So you should be happy if Coach Newell is calling you. That means you did something exceptional. But what you're saying also, which is very important to keep in mind for these kids, is when you're looking for a scholarship or you're looking for a coach, you have to do the research and see how the school is doing in conference or nationals, like what kind of team it is, right? And that will depend a lot on your scholarship or will you be recruited, right? So some teams are more conference level, some teams are more national. So asking full ride, for instance, everybody asks for how far do I have to throw for a full scholarship, right? So what you're saying here, and I think it's very true, it depends on the goal of the team, right?
Oh yeah. And then the school, Tennessee has some great programs, but I know it's a lot harder to get in at UVA. We probably wouldn't have got into UVA coming out of high school.
I would not be looked at all.
You got to look at that, and along those same lines, I really do enjoy recruiting kids that live in the moment and are trying to get better, day by day, and have and improve their craft, have goals. Some of my proudest coaching memories are the kids that come through, graduate, have a great experience, and then go off and do great things. Tavis, for one, he's just killing it in sales. He owns a gym, and he's just owns 2 houses. He's like a little mini mogul, and that's so cool to see. Matt Hody, who I coached my first couple of years at Tennessee, lives in Nashville now. He's married. He has a great job. And just to see some of those, like coaching kids that are now doctors. Michigan State, Anthony Agrusa went through 5 years, and when I came in, he was he redshirted his first year, and coach was like, hey, we're gonna have to cut this guy. He's no good, and he ended up being a school record holder before, Lonnie and Antonio James came through and destroyed all those record books. And now he's a doctor, and he's working, with COVID cases.
Wow.
Saving
lives.
So in terms of that, there's life after college and throwing for everyone. So having a kid that doesn't come in, it's great to have ambition, but if the kid comes in and tells me I'm going to make the Olympic team, that's a great goal. But if that's their main concern, it's just like the college is going to be rough for you. But you're one of the success stories of a foreign athlete coming to college and having success in college, winning a national championship, which was so cool to see.
You were there,
I know. I remember hanging out before.
Late.
And then having success as an Olympian, and then now as a coach, So, for the foreign athletes out there, it can be done. I think there's a big stigma that you're going to come to the NCAA and just have to compete too much. And that's not the case. We have Jonathan Sikor.
Mm-hmm.
He was a world junior 400-meter champion in Tampere, Finland.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're very cautious about how much he races. And, he was, on the bronze medal 4x4 team in Qatar, but there may be a misconception. I think coaches are understanding now how to, if you bring in a foreign athlete, you're going to be sensitive because their training age is a whole lot different than someone like me out of high school that came in with a training age of 2, where I just need to catch up.
Yeah.
So I had to put in the time and the hours, but if you have, someone coming in that's been training with a coach since they've been 13, the same coach, you're going to be a little more sensitive about that.
I love how extensive you are in what you're looking for in your athletes, right? And I think that's so important. I cannot agree with you more on those things, right? You're looking for a kid, not in a whole picture, right? You don't want the kid to come in and not be successful at your school, right? Not to graduate, not to have a life after track, right?
Yeah.
So how many people really go pro, right? And make a good living out of it, especially these days, right? So it's so important for coaches. I think it's incredible if you find a coach who's like yourself, looking to help you as a person, not just as an athlete, right? I have a few kids. I told them I don't think it's going to be hard for you to make it here, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're a great thrower. And then I would say, okay, look at these schools, right? These are great coaches. They can help you, because how am I benefiting? And kid comes here and they're just destroyed by academics. They're destroyed by the culture, right? But you can tell that, right? Talking to the kid, and you can see who can be a good fit or who could not be a good fit for your school, right? And definitely kids from, I think their misconception is for the foreign kids is, like you just said, like, I'm going to be destroyed over there. I'm not going to make it. The training is going to be horrible. They're going to make me do the weight throw and the steeplechase, all these things, right? But that's just not true. And you can see somebody like your experience, your athletes from abroad, someone like Spotakova, right? I always bring her up. She went to college in the USA, finished degree. She's a mother of 2, 3 right now. She's still throwing. She's Olympic champion, right? And those things can be aligned easily if you talk to the coach, tell him your expectations, and say, how can I do this, right?
Yeah.
I want to finish degree and I want to be a great athlete. Okay, we're going to have to do these things. It's doable. We're going to give you a tutor. We're going to give you a academic advisor, right? So it can be done, but in a big conversation with the coaches and themselves, right? You can make that plan, right?
The student support services at most schools, ours is phenomenal. I'm sure,
Yes.
UVA is good.
Yeah.
And you really have to try to fail.
Yeah.
You have to work harder to fail out of school than you do you get a good education. And that's a big part too. Is I had learning disabilities and growing up, and I was in the special reading group that
I would never say that. Yeah.
But I got to a point where I wanted to learn, and that made school a lot more enjoyable. So to have a kid that's trying to get something from college is hugely important. Tavis is a great example. He, communications and sales. He was going to college knowing that he needed to figure out a way to make money. And there was, he was trying to hustle me when he was in college. But I like that. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's such a diamond what you just said. At some point, you figure out you want to learn and you want to be better. I always tell my athletes, there's none of them here. If you made it to college, if you pass SAT, right? So there's a certain limits that you have to do to get into NCAA, D1, D2 schools, right? Any school, right? So if you pass that, it's just a matter of how bad do you want it. Do you want to learn? You'll find research. We'll spend 8 hours. Doesn't matter, right? And you'll see some kids are really, really talented. They really don't like school, right? But they can spend an hour and they'll be fine, right? And just go along in the school, and that's fine. Whatever your goal is, as long as you know what's your goal, right? So it's really hard, like you said, it's really hard not to make it. Having academic advisors, having tutors, having mentors, having your coach, all these support systems in the big schools, right? That you can have. It's really just show up. Like what's his name? The director, Woody Allen, said 80% of work or success is just showing up, right? Like you just show up, and people will study with you. They will be in front of you, making sure that you're learning, right? And let alone if you really want to do it, right? Like someone like Tavis, like I want to hustle, right? I want to hustle. I want to make it big. I want to buy a truck. I want to buy a house, right? Then it's just like you have this desire and these people. I mean, just the sky's the limit, right?
Yeah. As coaches, right? Like, we have to take on like somewhat of a mentoring role.
Yeah.
Tavis wasn't always like that, and you see athletes come in maybe a little misguided and focusing on just having fun being in college, but then you can see them transform as well. Yeah. And picking the right school is very important. Picking the right coach for you is very important. And that's the great thing about the NCAA is whoever you are, however far you throw, there's a place that you could find to be a great fit.
Yes. Yeah. No, I can. I agree 1,000,000%. There's like 2,000 school in NCAA system, 300 school D1. Is just so many options, right? And if you do your research, you'll find a good fit. I want to talk to you about how different it is being a student athlete now, and what do you see with your student athletes being now, and when you were a student athlete back in 2004, 5, 6. How did times change, and how did you, as a coach, adjust to that? Because how do you relate to? Obviously, some athletes have different desires and different goals, right? How do you mentor them? How do you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, the thoughts that come to mind is, I wanted to throw as long as my body would let me. I liked learning. I got through school, graduated from Georgia, and I just wanted to do something. I just wanted to keep throwing. We had a good training group with Lucas there. Still training post-collegiately. Trevor Snyder, you left. You left me all alone.
I left when you guys left. I didn't want to be there by myself.
But, Lucas was a great training partner, the best, because he was so dedicated. And for him, it was okay to want to throw after college, So, and then same with Trevor, who's a jab thrower, it wasn't looked down on.
Yeah.
And being, a student athlete, then we definitely weren't friendly with everyone. Like now it's like kids just they get to know each other.
Schools. How dare you talk to Florida or Duke, right?
Well, I remember it was ironic that I work at Tennessee now, but when we were at Georgia during an indoor meet, we almost got in a pretty big fight with the Tennessee throwers.
Yeah.
Garland and Jim Sexton, and Jim's a great friend now. He still lives in Knoxville. And Garland,
okay.
I worked with Garland my first couple years here, and then he went on to throw for the Germans.
Okay, yeah.
But there was, it wasn't.
It's a little different in relationships.
Yeah, the Westberger and all them,
Yes, yeah.
Kids really, you didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
They weren't posting what they were doing for training. So you just had to, in your mind, if someone beat you, I didn't make NCAAs. I had 3 indoor seasons at Georgia and 2 outdoor.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't make indoor NCAAs my first year, and I was like, "That's never going to happen again." I will make every NCAA meet from here on out because I didn't want to lose to the guys.
Be beaten by, right?
And I didn't. I was always trying to, catch up to Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
But it was you had to be really self-motivated. And every meet for me, it was important, and then maybe, did more harm than good, just exhausting my emotions through the season. But there was a lot of stuff we did on our own, even compete at times, try to find on.
In different events too, not necessarily throwing events.
Yeah. So, for me, I just wanted to throw. I wanted to throw everything: shot, disc, hammer, weight. And there was never a point in college where I was like, "Oh, I don't want to throw," discus this meet. And there'd be times where Don's like, I'm not going to enter you. In the discus, but I wanted to do everything I could. I know that I just remember with the training group, we could play hard, but even if it was a, later Friday night, we would wake up and be running on Saturday, and Don wouldn't have to be there. Maybe sometimes we do too much training that he didn't know about. And I think that transition, training 2 years or 1.5 years after I graduated at UGA, I remember just feeling comfortable, and that kind of scared me because I had a job at a gym and was playing in the bands.
And playing heck out of it.
And I was like, I want to make sure that if I have the ability to throw far, I want to put myself in a position where I have to throw far, or else, because there was at that time people that were just kind of training to train. It was a lot more normal for someone to throw for a couple of years after college. And I remember having a conversation with Adam and Bro, and Bro was like, you got to go train with Judd up at Ashland. And, that was December of 2006 and the beginning. And I called Judd and I said, hey, I'm thinking about, I'd like to, talk to you about maybe possibly coming up there and train. And he's like, well, we were going to have someone to come in and train with AG, but they backed out. And Kibwe Johnson was up there as well. So he's like, let me talk to AG. And that was like maybe December 3rd or something. And he got back to me a couple of days later, said, he called Don, he called Adam, just as
references.
Reference. And he's like, yeah, come on up.
That's awesome. So that's awesome.
I left Athens December 22nd. So like 2 weeks after, making that initial call. And moved to Ashland in the middle of the winter, and I'd never lived in the snow before.
That's right. California to Georgia, how long were you there for?
I was there from December through August. So I went and trained with Judd, and had to find a way to make money. I thought Ashland was a really small town. I was like, I'll just go up and get a job at a gym, and go there. There's no gym.
Wow.
And I started trying to find people who wanted coaching and who wanted personal training. And Judd would have camps, and I worked Judd's camps. And he's just like, Judd said, we're going for the A standard. If we don't get the A standard, then it's time to move on. And I was like, all right, cool. And he was, a huge influence on me, even though I only spent about 9 months there. After working the camps, he's like, I think this is your calling. He's like, I think you can make a bigger impact as a coach than you can as a thrower. At the time, kind of hurt, like
kind of busted your dream, but
it's okay, and he was right. And luckily, it was a great training group. Steve Manns moved to Ashland. He's the coach at Miami of Ohio now. We're great friends. And he pulled Steve and I into the office in August of 2007, said, hey, the coach from Michigan State called. They have a throws coaching opening, and Steve, you're an alum of Michigan State, and John, you know, like you want to get into coaching. You know, Walt Drenth called me, and he's like, I'm not going to get you. I can't get you the job, but I can get you an interview. It's up to you to get the job. And in order to get the job, you have to, you know, stop throwing. You know, so that took all of like 3 hours to be like, yeah, if I did it, I'd do it all the way.
Yeah.
So I went from, you know, we're talking about
thrower.
You know, being a thrower, living with college kids, training with college kids, and literally the next, you know, day being a coach.
How that experience may change you? Like, what are some things that you had to do that you were surprised that you were able to do? Like, now you have to recruit, now you have to talk to kids, now you have to talk to parents. Obviously, you had a success. How did you figure that out so quickly?
I just got thrown into the fire, you know, and at the time it was different, you know, like Michigan State had never had a big presence in throws outside of Steve Mance, you know, 65 feet in college, 64-10 in college. Luckily, I had some really great people to work with, and that's something that I hope we can come back on, is the importance of good colleagues, you know, a positive coaching atmosphere. But Chris Bostwick, who's the jumps coach at Clemson now, he was at Michigan State, and I learned a lot from him because he'd been coaching for 10 years already, and he's had a lot of success. So I go there. I remember my first day was September 11th. You know, obviously that's the day you remember. So the kids had already been doing some training. But I walked into 24 throwers.
Whoa.
Which is a big group. And,
and
the majority, 99% of them were walk-ons. You know? So the coach before me did a great job of getting, you know, building up the volume of the group. And then as far as recruiting, Coach Chris Bostwick's a great recruiter and just very tedious in what he does. So I learned a lot from him. And luckily, the boss, the head coach, still the head coach there, Walt Drenth, he gave me a lot of freedom and he helped mentor me. You know, I made some dumb, you know, my temper
unexperienced.
Was, you know, little hot, you know, because I mean, at Georgia, if you had someone that was messing around, and, you know, someone was going to put him in the right place. Whether it was
get him straightened up. Yeah.
Trevor,
you
know. My last year throwing at Ashland, I was just beat up, and that was on me. It wasn't Judd at all. Judd really got me excited about throwing again because it just got monotonous. You know. And Kurt Roberts was there. Kurt was a great shot putter, and you know, the intensity he brought into training was awesome. Just super positive, fun guy. Kidway, seeing Kidway do crazy things, and AG, you know, just being super dedicated.
That's a great group,
every way. And then Judd, where, you know, just making the kids believe they could be good.
You
know, where Don would put you into his formula and say, you know, if you can do this and this, which is
he'll be right. He'll be right. Yeah.
And he was right. Whereas Judd wanted the group to all be one.
Okay.
You know, everyone on the same, even in the other event groups, and it got me excited again. You know, so when I went to Michigan State, you know, I was still training hard. And I wanted the head coach is like, I want what Ashland has. He's like, I love seeing them at meets. You know, they're so connected to each other, and
they're a tribe. They're a group.
They're a tribe. So we had 24 throwers, and it was like, all right, all for one for all. And you know, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm going to be honest. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't understand. I always appreciated the opportunity that Walt gave me, you know, coaching there. But he said in the interview, he's like, we're going to, you know, try this for a year and see how it goes. So in my mind, I was like, well, this might only be for a year. So let's put the pedal to the floor. And luckily that group, we had, you know, walk-ons that became Big Ten champions and All-Americans. And the culture changed, but and then, my first recruiting call that I made was to Lonnie Pugh.
Okay.
A lot of luck goes into it as well.
Okay. Okay.
And I had met Lonnie because at one of the camps that Judd put on. And then I talked to his coach at that camp quite a bit, his high school coach. So when I called him, he's like, yeah, we met at the Ashland camp. You know? So I went down and did a home visit to Lonnie and just watched him play basketball, and brought our head coach, and he was like, yes, we want him, like just smooth and all that, and he was just a great person to coach and really lifted the group. Right. So like, I knew we had kids at Michigan State were motivated, and I would train with them a bit, which helped. Like, this is how we train, this is how we warm up, this is how we lift, and luckily I had a lot of freedom. I could write all the workouts and be in charge of all the throwing, and I had a key to the weight room. So we would go in on, Friday nights, we would lift from 5 to 7 because that's what we did at Georgia.
Yep,
right?
Yep. That's
so they're like, we're lifting at 5 o'clock on Friday. It's like, yeah, we are. Yeah. That's what we
Friday was a gun day too.
Yeah. We would squat and get after it, and that created a bond. And then you bring in athletes that
can level up, right?
Exactly. So that helped. And then they started to see progress. First year, we had a kid, the kid that's a doctor now, he got third at Big Ten.
Nice.
He made the final on his last throw, or in the third round. He made the final, bumped Pete Miller out, who was a coach at Minnesota.
Oh, yep, that's right.
Bumped Pete out. And then, he came in and on his last throw had a big PR that was a school record at the time. I think it was 52 meters, 74.
Nice. Nice.
That was the Michigan State school record when I got there, right?
Really? Wow.
And, so he got a medal, and you would have thought that we won the whole meet, and I could see, I remember Walt telling me, after the indoor season, how is it? How are the coaches? Like, oh, man, these coaches are awesome. They're all really nice. And he's like, well, that'll change once you start getting good,
Yeah. Oh, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
So, with Anthony winning that medal, we had a couple throwers make the hammer final. They came up to me afterwards, and they're like, yeah, so the throwers at the other Big Ten schools are like, when did Michigan State ever have any throwers? So it was like the big chip on our shoulder, right?
Yeah.
And
like, you guys suck. You always suck, but you're like, no.
Yeah, and it got to a point where I was just like, guys, every practice, this is before TMPs and all the rules, said every practice is voluntary. I was like, I'm completely serious. If you don't want to come, if you have school, you take it off. But if you come to practice, you got to be all in every day.
Yeah.
Every day that you're here.
Yeah.
And some kids literally like spend the whole day with me, 8 hours.
Wow. That's awesome.
Whether and they got really into lifting, and trying to become a student of the events. And then the whole culture of the group became like, hey, we want to try to, have the most people in the finals at the conference meet. We want to go and, make nationals and be an All-American. And that, because before I came in, the dynamic of the group, they talked about the Big Ten meet and how cool it was to go and how good the other throwers were. And I was like, well, how'd you do? Like, oh, I didn't make the final. Like, okay, that's the first thing we need to work on.
That mindset, right?
Yeah, the
mindset has to change.
Yeah. So that started to evolve. My training, I started to read as much as I could on training, and understand that I had a lot to learn.
Yeah. Okay.
So just kind of being open to all ideas going. And back then there was a lot more clinics. So you could go hear coaches talk at clinics, and trying to go through like coaches education, which was really good. So yeah, just trying to gain as much knowledge as I could early on and figure out how to apply it.
Yeah.
And I knew that, one of the best things that Don ever did for me when I started coaching, I asked him like, what's the one piece of advice you have for me as a young coach? And, he sits back and, it's an interesting question. Let me think about it. And later he came back, he's like, nothing outweighs experience. So, he's like, how I handled things with you guys is way different than how I handle things now. And he's like, you're going to be able to learn the things you need to learn to get a shot putter to throw 60 feet, if they have the talent. But experience is going to outweigh all of that. So when I started coaching, I told myself that countless times. Being in Michigan, having throwing sessions out in the snow, and being tired, and going through long seasons and long training sessions where the kids aren't getting it, and realizing, I kept telling myself, nothing outweighs experience. Like you're putting in, 10 hours coaching today, straight coaching, right? But that's money in the bank,
exactly. So true.
Experience you gain from that is going to help me in the future. So I took that approach, just like kept my head down and tried to work, and luckily, at Michigan State, that first year, it took for the guys in the weight, it took 18 meters to make a final in the weight throw. And it took 17 meters to make a final in the shot. And for the girls, it was maybe 17 meters in the weight to make a final and 47 in the shot. So if I would have started nowadays, I would have been, there's no way. No way, man. 21 years to make a final in the weight throw. And
it's such a different environment we live in now. And that's a really, really good point that you said, how experience is such a valuable asset when it comes to coaching, because the field changed completely, right? So something that I talked to Amin the other day, what's 21 meters now? 21 meters in shot put is nothing. 20 used to be oh my God, remember Steve Mann's throwing 20 meters? I'm like, this is a miracle, right? This little guy throwing 20 meters. This is incredible, right? And now all the kids are throwing 20 meters. It's nothing. So yeah, the field definitely changed. And I think that's so true that having experience helps so much. And a couple of things that I like about you and coaches like yourself is, and you mentioned this a couple of times, you said how unprepared you were, how much you didn't know when you came into coaching, how unexperienced you were, and you were talking about Stamatia and her coach, how you wouldn't be able to help her without him after collegiate, right? This humbleness that you have, I don't know if you had it in college, I can't remember now. I can't remember, but I think what made you a really good coach is now that fact, because it's so important not to mess up your athletes. One way you mess up your athletes is thinking that you know everything, right? And I think Babby was really good about that. I told him one time, I was like, Coach, you know everything. Martin, he was laughing. Like, Martin, I don't know everything. I know a lot, but I don't know everything. And there's always something new. There's always some different approach, right? There are different athletes. Obviously, he never deal with somebody like me. He never deal with somebody like you. We are so different, right? Special. Everybody's so different. And I think coaches get into a trap when they think they have it. They have it figured out. I think that's a trap. So I think the reason you're so successful is because you're developing all the time and you're learning the whole time.
Well, there's that. And then I appreciate that. But one of my favorite athletes of all time is Mike Tyson.
Okay.
And he had a coach, Customano. And, I watched all of his videos on YouTube and just how
beast he was. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a beast. He just owned it. He was, in my opinion, the best fighter, the most dominant fighter, and he had such a unique relationship with his coach. He lived with him, and his coach really mentored him, and he was a student of boxing. Everyone thinks he was just this big bruiser, but he would watch hours and hours of film, and he knew combos. He'd study like film from the beginning of time for boxing, and up. And Cuss was an old guy, old trainer, and they were doing an interview, and it's like, wow, you're this great coach, and he's like, what does success mean to you? And he's like, well, and a lot of people know this from his coach. It's like, I'm a success. I've done my job when they don't need me anymore.
Okay.
When they have that independence, when Mike Tyson walks into the ring and he doesn't need to look back every 2 seconds.
Yes. So, my God. I love that. I love what you just said.
And so in coaching, I want to get to that point at the, it's a special point when you get to a meet and you've done, you the best job that you can. And, like, with Tavis, NCAA's, it's an organ. You can't, it's so hard to talk. And his senior year, he was so prepared, and I was fine, and he did everything right, except, Sam had that phenomenal 6th round throw, and it could have gone, either way, but he did everything right. He didn't need me, And it was like, there was no doubt.
Had a big foul, enormous foul. I was there. He would have won. He would have won. Yeah.
That, to me, when you get to that point where you have enough respect for the thrower.
Yeah.
That you're trying to prepare them for whatever meet it is training for that year. So we go about it like that instead of like using my first couple of years coaching, and this is a good point as well. It was more of a shotgun approach, whereas now it's a little more of a sniper approach to training, a lot more specific. Whereas before it's just, let's train hard every day. Let's go out, and every meet is a national championship meet mentality. And now it's like, if you do that, if every meet you go and you're getting super fired up for, trying to force energy, you're going to burn yourself out. So there's, our first couple of meets through the season are like developmental meets. Let's see what our training is doing for us at these meets, and whether they throw really far, foul out, we come back and like, okay, let's assess.
Yeah.
And like, your warm-ups were really good, but you got a little, you spiked intensity-wise in warm-ups, and then you came and you had that easy throw, which is like the Achilles heel to so many throwers you see. You're massive warm-up throws, and then like you're like, man, this guy's gonna throw 21 meters today, and first throw 1840, and you're like, hey, you just do 20-15 warm-ups.
He won the warm-ups, right?
That's Don would get so mad if we were throwing meetings and warm-ups, which I did a lot. So just in terms of going about the approach now is a lot more specific, and some kids, it might be, I want to try to win a national championship, like someone like Tavis that I've coached, like Antonio James, Lonnie, Beth. Yeah. Some kids, they want to score at a conference meet, and that's a big deal for them. So
it changes the approach, right?
Yeah, I get just as excited about someone coming out and having a huge PR at a conference meet.
Yes.
Because it's what it means for them.
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying about like me being humble, I appreciate that. Yeah. I know that I've had athletes, and you had that little thrower at Virginia.
Little guy.
Yeah. And like, just for him to like hit a big PR is really exciting because of what they put into it. Eventually you're going to have someone come through like Philip or that has the ability, but you still have to have that core desire to see them achieve their goals.
Yes, and it's so rewarding for us coaches who are in it. I think for the love of it, right? I don't believe that obviously, and it's easier to see more and more as the time goes, right? That some coaches are there because they love it. So unfortunately, there are some coaches there because they don't have anything else to do. They were kind of put in that situation. They were came from other sports, whatever might have happened, right? But the coaches who do love it and do it for the love of it, right? They are excited about every progress, right? As you mentioned, that kid, he had a big PR from 38 meters to 42 meters in discus. 42. We were jumping. We were so excited when he PR 42 meters, right? And this kid is an amazing businessman right now, right? And he just kind of came into the sport. He just wanted to do that, right? And he PR huge, and he was so excited. And I was as excited for him as any PR. PR, and you know this, when you PR, and I think we can relate to that more because we went through, like yourself, you went through high school, college, professional. You've been in throwing so long. You know how hard you work for that PR. And knowing that, how you did it and how much this kid went through it, it cannot not make you so happy about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think your original question was like, how has times changed? I think that now kids want those PRs and improvements a lot faster.
Yeah,
they expect things to come quicker, and I think that's the same for a lot of young throws coaches. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you kind of like, it's just like fast forwarding through a movie.
Yeah.
You know, just to get to the end and see what happens. It's like you don't get the benefit of the buildup of the story.
Yeah.
You know, so there's at some point you're going to have to go back. You know, and you know, gain that experience.
Yeah.
You know, because if you're on a fast track, if you're a young coach or a new coach, and everything's just up. I mean, we've seen it before.
Yeah.
You know, where, man, I can't do any wrong. You know, I recruit these kids, everyone I touch turns to gold. Yeah. And then they get that athlete that challenges them.
Yeah.
And that could tear a group apart quick.
Yes.
You know? Yeah. And we've seen it, and I've probably experienced it, you know, at some point of a period of my.
So what you're saying basically, you know, we experienced for young coaches, don't be lured into a great talent just because he's a talent that will sacrifice your values, sacrifice your the bases that you're trying to make, right? So don't get into that super quick success because there's some consequences behind it, right?
Right.
All right, John. So maybe a couple more questions that we definitely have to answer before we go is how, when somebody reaches out to you, a recruit, a junior in high school, send you an email, what do you like to see in that email?
Well, obviously their distances. If they don't have their distances on there, the current distances, it honestly doesn't, I don't care if it's what it is.
Yeah.
You know? But it's good to see that, a link maybe to some throwing videos. And I generally like short, genuine emails. I don't like copy and paste emails from throwers. You know, they, like we talked about before, we've gotten emails sent to us and they got mixed up and sent it to the wrong coach. And I'm like, oh, Martin, I think this is was meant for you. And you're like, no, I got the one that was meant for you. You know, I applaud the hustle of the kids that are going out and seeking out emails. But generally one that is like, hey, I'm interested. And more times than not, that's a great thing to do to get your name on their radar. But usually we will have an idea of the kids that we're wanting to recruit.
Even before they send email, right?
Even before, yeah. So it's always nice because maybe, if you're a foreign athlete, maybe we just haven't seen your name on a list. Obviously, it's hard to go see all the foreign throwers, or even, if you're out on the West Coast, it's hard for the coaches over on the East to really get a idea of
your capabilities. Yeah,
I remember Dubs was saying when he recruited Lonnie, he was going out to California to recruit someone else and saw her at a meet. And maybe if someone like that goes out and emails 50 coaches, the more emails you do send out, the more higher likelihood that you'll have more schools recruit you. But me, John Newell, I like short, hey, I'm really interested in your program. This is what I've thrown. This is why I'm interested. Like, I had a email from a kid said, hey, I've watched your ball throws. Really like, Jordan West and Joe Maxwell. Like, they're really cool. They throw two different ways. Asking, a genuine question, like, I'm interested to come to college, but, hey, I've been keeping up with your social media and your kids' results. That always kind of sticks with you,
Yeah. Same here. I like to see a kid that he did or she did some research and actually knows who's on the team, what kind of school it is, right? So I liked when, like you said, in the email it says, "Hey, Coach Newell, I love what Stamatia did last week. Congratulations on her PR. My name is such and such. This is my PR." So a little bit of research goes a long way. And like you said, when you get that email that it was meant for you or for me, or when we receive wrong emails, and you can tell somebody just copy and paste a bunch of same messages, which is fine. You can have your bio short, but throw in there a little bit about the coach, what they're doing right now, about the team, that the coach knows, like, okay, he or she is looking into this team as something serious, not just like, I'm going to send so many emails. As you should definitely send emails to everybody who's has a scholarship, but you shouldn't not know what's going on in that team too, right? So if the coach reaches you back, like, hey, I'm sorry, this is the wrong coach, like that's really embarrassing first, and then second, you might just lost opportunity to get on that team just because of that little mistake, right?
Mm-hmm. And the TFERS website is really important, and to see where you would currently fit in, and with the results of conference. A lot of times they want to know, like right now we have one jab guy, but we're not putting money into the jab right now. It's like, well, I'm a jab thrower and you don't have anyone. It's like, yeah, but we have the little amount of money that we have invested in other areas. So it's not like it would be great if there was 2 scholarships for every event.
Yeah.
But especially if you're on the guys' side, the money is not as much as the women. Yeah. But again, if you keep working hard, your results speak for themselves. Yeah. So the time in the ring and under the bar and everything else is really what's going to get you noticed.
It goes a long way, right? Like, for every coach to see that you have that stamina, especially on an event like hammer throw, right? Like, that's, I would say, one event that that you really don't know who's going to be a great thrower, right? Until they put so much time into it, right? And tell us about this, your experience. Only the last question, I'll let you go. Your experience in Hungary when you first came here, over there, to see that number on those kids. You were telling me they were like kids of 7, 8 years old with the wires. And wires are taller than they are, right?
That was life-changing for me. You had these little 3-4 groups of the hammer throwers, the beginners, the intermediates, the older kids, and then the elite group. And the coaches, Pal Nemeth, one of the best hammer coaches of all time. And now Jolt, his son, is running it.
Yeah.
Andres Bondi.
Yeah, boy.
But
what a great school, right?
Yeah, I mean, they'd come in the morning, and they'd have the kids running at like 6 a.m., and then they'd come out and do special strength and then throw, and it was focused, and I just felt really bad, like spoiled.
Yeah.
Like I was all mad about little things, and seeing these kids throw hard and train really hard at such a young age, it really switched my way of thinking on it. And it's helped in my throwing. If I wouldn't have gone to Hungary, I wouldn't have gotten my first job at Michigan State. That's for sure. And I didn't go for that reason, but it just, you got to keep an open mind, but a strong filter. But everyone wants to know.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you, you know what I'm asking.
Okay.
We're going top 5 college throws coaches.
Yes. So if I this is a great question. If I was a kid right now in high school, my top 5, right? Well, I would look for a school that has a coach who cares about throws, who has experience, and a school and a team that would be my fit, right? Fit my personality. And this is not because we're talking right now, but we talked about how long we know each other, right? I know you for 15 years now. If I was a kid, first school I would be looking into, it would be Tennessee. Obviously UVA, right? I'm looking at UVA. But if it wasn't UVA, I would be looking at Tennessee because you do have that experience and you are humble. We talked about this on Facebook, on Instagram Live, and on the podcast, how the distance you will go for your athletes is enormous, right? Not many coaches have time and have desire to do what you're doing, right? So you have both, right? So I will, this is again, not because we're talking, but really, John, because we know each other for so long, I would definitely look in Tennessee. I think Coach Ncaa is a great coach. Yeah. He's been a long friend of mine. And again, this is because I know these people. And he will go a distance for his athletes. Coach Babbitt, regardless of me transferring from Georgia, I think he will go through a great length for his athletes as well. Yeah. It's a question of a fit, right? So if I was in high school, I would still look at Georgia, because Georgia now is not the same Georgia when we were there, right? 15 years ago. So I don't even know what kind of academic opportunities are there, what kind of facilities are not as good as I mean, they're amazing. I'm not gonna lie, right?
I have a net up to catch all my hammers I throw.
Right, because you were throwing underneath a baseball, right? Shot put, yeah. So things change in many schools, but I would definitely still look at Georgia. I will look at Berkeley because of Mo. I think he's an incredible coach. I think he's a very caring coach. He's doing a great job over there with his athletes. And I mean, this is number 4, right? Berkeley. Let's stop at the Mo for a second. Have you ever seen video of him doing cleans for the 7th time?
With everything coming out, drool.
So this video, I don't think anybody will see this video, but you saw it?
Yeah, that'd be great if Tom put it on YouTube.
So I don't think he'll ever do it. But this, guys, this is one of the moments when you see, I mean, it just changes perspective of how bad do you need to want it, right? He wants it real bad.
I mean, other coach going through everything that Mo's gone through, they'd gotten out of it. I would not have had the willpower and like emotional stability to go through his path, because we don't always get to choose when we want to go. Sometimes coaching staffs change, new head coach comes in, and it's really unfortunate to see. We've seen a lot of really good coaches like Lyndon Reeder, get out of coaching. And it's unfortunate. Sometimes you make mistakes. And you know, you have to get out for other reasons.
Mhm.
Yeah, Mo is a trooper.
Yeah. No, and it really shows care for his. He will go, and they don't have resources like some other schools at Cal, but he's doing a great job. He's catching up with everybody, right? For that, my fifth school, it'll be a tough choice. These four just pop out of my head right now. Maybe LSU, maybe Alabama. Right? I know those coaches care for their athletes as well. And this is for me, right? Like, I'm looking for a school who I know the coach is caring for me. And
I think that Yush is one of the most underrated throws coaches out there. You look, the NCAA champions that he's coached.
Oh my God! Right?
It goes like unnoticed. I noticed because I got a.
No, we noticed. Yeah. We got a coach against him, right? Yeah. So that will be, I think, for fifth place. Definitely Yosh. He's an incredible guy.
Yeah.
I'm undecided right now in the majors, so I will have to make a visit and see. How about you, Joe? Your top 5 coaches in the NCAA.
My top 5, school, and I think that this is such an awesome loaded question, which is why Mac Rowe's been talking about it for the past 15 years or 10 years. You know, it's always evolving. It's who's hot. You know, there's been times I've been on the list. There's been times that I'm the worst coach in the world. I go to sleep crying like, oh, they don't like me. No. But obviously, you know, with situation with Jordan, you were the first coach that popped up. I think that rotationally, you have such a great eye and a patience to not just like teach someone how to throw, but what works for them. Like your girl Brittany Jones is a very unorthodox style. She's tiny. Yeah. But I like that. I mean, I remember 15 years ago driving by the track on Sundays, seeing you out there doing drills. Yeah. You know. Yeah. So just the importance you have for the throw, you know, like you have to have a respect for the event, you know, which I think you do. You're not just trying to bulldoze through. The ring. So yes, I mean, and it's not because we're talking.
I appreciate it.
Because I know you. And I think this question needs to be top 5 coaches throwing for you know, maybe an athlete that is going to go to a Power 5 school.
Yes. So it depends on the athlete's abilities. Yep.
Because I will give you my top 5 coaches that aren't at the flashy schools as well.
I like that. All right.
Because it's such a good conversation, and it's like the high school kids want to know, and you know, there's been times where I've like wrote a full book ready to send to Mac Throw, and I was like, it's just why, you know, I, you know, if I post on there, I'm gonna. I've done it a few times, but I've always put my name, you know, and it's like it's. You know, I'm going to hurt someone's feelings. Yeah. But really thinking about it, I think coaches that I really admired, especially admired coming up, that, you know, if I was an athlete, I would like to throw for Doug Reynolds. Okay. You know, he was the head coach at New Mexico State now. He was at Alabama and Kentucky. Coached Ashley Muffett, and a ton of good kids. Cares about his kids. I think he's the type of coach that if he tells you something, he truly means it. It's not just blowing smoke. So Doug, I think that I, you know, he's a bit controversial, but I think John Smith, if you're the right type of athlete, if you just look at
what incredible results,
he's really freaking competitive, right? But he truly does want the athletes to throw far, you know, and he's given the opportunity to so many kids that went under the radar that ended up being national champions. And he has a system that really works for him, and a lot of coaches that were influenced. I've been influenced a lot by what John did, because when I was at Michigan State, I talked a lot to him, you know, about about training a lot in my mind, you know?
Yeah. Oh, what a long experience. I mean, he is incredibly knowledgeable.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, he's unique. That's for sure. You know, but when you look at it in terms of like production, you know, he's produced.
The results don't lie.
So that's 3. And again, yeah, I'm biased, but I think Lucas, okay, just, I mean, with the information, he was born into throwing.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
His summer vacations were spent throwing and going to throwing camps, and his understanding of all the events is super impressive. And he's a person that I call if I have questions about, you know, any athlete, like just to get, you know, maybe his thoughts. But and again, he's had success in every event, you know. I really, you know, and that's like a group that I want to be a part of. You know, it's a cool group, and I think being a part of our group at Georgia, he was a big part of that, you know. I'm drawing a blank, but obviously, you know, it's like the same ones. You know, I think that if you are an athlete, you know, has some experience and ability, and you had the opportunity to get recruited by Blue Trick again.
Yeah.
You know, for the right person, I mean, he has a great eye. You know, and having conversations with Ncaa in the past, he said it. He's like, no one, even in college, Blue Trick, they coach each other, you know, and Blue Trick just had that eye. And what he's done is he hasn't had like the big volume. He's not a big volume. He doesn't have the big groups, but when he does have someone, he's able to really maximize things. And it's interesting with him. There's nothing. He's never really done interviews or clinics. There's no video or articles specific to what he's done. So it's, you know, and I don't know him that well, but it's just kind of like this mystery of, okay, that's interesting, you know, like
incredible results. Yeah.
Doing. I don't know if that's 4 or 5.
That is 5. Yeah.
That's 5. But the other part of it is, okay, if we're going out of the big time schools, and honestly, I can't think of a throws coach that I don't have respect for, you know, like they all have their niche. And for an athlete, a recruit, it's about finding what the best fit is for you. Because even if, you know, everyone thinks, oh yeah, John Newell, this you know, great coach, Tennessee might not be a fit for you.
Yeah.
You know, but if that isn't the case, then it's like, hey, maybe I'm a guy that's thrown 49 feet in the shot out of high school and 160 in the discus. All of a sudden, you're getting looked at by some mid-majors and D2 schools. Then that gets interesting, right? So I think obviously, again, one of the most underrated coaches, Nathan Fenger at Kent State.
Okay. Yeah, Nate. Yeah, Nate. Yep.
Dave Price at East Carolina.
Oh, incredible coach.
He's super creative. Good dude. Always love going to meets with Dave because he's like a mad scientist, you know. I think that obviously Judd is like the godfather.
Oh yes.
Right. It's I mean, the thought of what he's done, you know, consistently. I think Heacock at William and Mary. I think he's a really good coach.
Yes. Yep.
And there was one more it's just slipping my mind, man.
Well, think about it. I just want to reiterate, this is from my point of view, right? There's incredible coaches out there. It's hard to put in top 5, right? Like somebody like Ashley Kovac, right? Amazing coach, right? Amazing coach. She would go distance for her athletes. And now with her husband, I mean, they're throwbacks, what they call themselves, right? Throwbacks. I mean, how do you recruit against that, right? The only way I recruit against that is to ask athlete, well, what are you looking for, right? Are you looking for a school? What kind of major? What kind of group? I never try to persuade athletes, the students that I'm recruiting, against the school.
Yeah.
I just ask them, okay, what are you looking for? Well, if you're looking for this, this is what UVA has. This is what we have right now, right? But if they tell me like, okay, I'm looking into, Tennessee, I'm like, damn it, right? Okay. Like I would, I have nothing to say. I had a kid, she was looking for a high academic school. I'm like, we are a high academic school. And she's like, well, Harvard open up a place for me. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. You go to Harvard, right? Like there was it. Like there was no conversation. Like, okay, if Harvard is opening a spot, you can get in, and you want to be a doctor in this particular area. They're like, hey, this is you go, right?
The worst thing you could do is to like trick a kid.
Oh my God! Yes.
Into coming. It I don't think it's ever worked out.
It can just backfire trillion times back.
Oh yeah, but yeah, Ashley Kovacs. Is one that I was thinking of that I forgot. I mean, you think of her starting at Murray State. It's like middle of nowhere in Kentucky and just hustling. And then going to Western Kentucky and getting legit group.
Work over there, man.
So a lot of people see what she has now and like, it's only because of Joe. But it's not.
Heck no, yeah.
And she could develop. And with the Big Ten, you kind of get those developmental kids. You'll get the good regional kids, out of the state. Like everyone in Ohio wants to go to Ohio State. Or most of them. And there's a ton of colleges, ton of D2 schools. So she's having to battle recruiting a kid that's getting full ride offers from every other D2 school. And not a ton of money invested in her group, which is amazing. And then you have some groups where there's a ton of money invested.
Yeah.
And there's a challenge to that as well.
Yeah.
Handling all these, full scholarship kids. And then what if you get the walk on that starts throwing farther than the full scholarship kids?
Yes.
Then that presents another problem.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, again, my opinion, and I'm allowed to have it. You're allowed to have it. And there's no one, like if you said who are the top 5 worst coaches, I couldn't come up with a list.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's going to be mad that they were not included in top 5 for us, right? Like this is just my opinion from what I'm looking for, your opinion from what you're looking for. Obviously our group's a little different, right? So I think there's, like you said, there's so many good coaches out there, and the most important thing is to look what you think you can fit in, what you're looking for. Make sure that you know what you're looking for, and you'll find a good coach there. You can find a great coach who's going to take care of you. There's so many schools where we talked about this, right? And but if I was an athlete looking for it, that would be just my choice, right? Yeah. Or I mean, I don't know if they have scholarships for me, right? So what if I can't get into that? If there's too many people at Tennessee, if there's too many people at Cal, right? Like, then that's a different question. As a student, you have to ask yourself, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's a great discussion. It's if we ever do this again.
Oh, we're going to do this. We didn't even cover half of the things we have to.
The ultimate question is what makes a good coach? Mm-hmm. I've been having that conversation since the first year I started coaching. Mm-hmm. And,
what did you see in Jet? Obviously, you have a great respect for Jet. What did you see in him that made him a great coach?
One, he had the experience. Like he was the athlete. He wasn't great out of he was good out of college, but he just committed his life to throwing.
Yeah.
And with a true passion. Like you walk around him, his aura is like, even if you don't believe in that stuff, you're like, this energy that this guy puts off is so positive. Yeah. I remember I was saying something negative, was just in a mood one day, and he kind of didn't take any of the bait. I just wanted to complain or something.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's not part of his DNA. He's always looking at the positives, right?
Yeah.
And he's putting so much energy and confidence into the group and he's super knowledgeable. He's on a lifelong quest of learning, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And, it's at times he's gotten a ton of opportunities to go and coach.
Yeah. Big, quote unquote, big schools, right?
And he's been offered a lot of money, but he stays. It's like he loves Ashland. He loves those kids. He loves the development. He loves the opportunity to truly coach.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when you get to these higher paying jobs, it almost feels like coaching side kind of shifts a little. The true out on the practice, the developmental side. You still have to spend a lot of time with the kids. But again, we talked a lot about, the pie.
Yeah.
And as a coach, you have that as well. So
that's so true.
True. But I think with him, a knowledgeable about training, he's not afraid to ask questions. And it doesn't matter if you're a new coach or what. If he sees something that someone's doing, he wants to know, what are you doing that? And what are your thoughts? How'd you come to that? And he's good enough to know how to implement into his system. And again, the results don't lie. I think he's coached more 21-meter weight throwers than any other coach in college.
I think together, most of us together, man, it's so impressive.
Yeah. So no, that's a good topic. If depending on how long this quarantine goes on, we might have to get the old band back together.
We can, everybody can come together and we can talk. I mean, on Zoom, we can do multiple coaches, right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite meets. This is how competitive you were, and how it fuels everybody else. You had Chad, incredible guy, my roommate. We were at Georgia Tech, and it was very windy. You were throwing hammer. I think you threw a 66 that meet. You had to throw, you released, and you were screaming, and the cage starts falling down back. And we were like, oh my God. And you didn't even care. You're like, yeah. You're like looking around, and the cage is falling down, and you're still screaming. Right. And that's what we had. We wanted to throw so hard, regardless of what kind of things are flying at us, right?
Yeah. No, it's kind of funny how, the time flies and 15 years, we had a lot of late night conversations still to this day, even if we don't talk for a couple months and we get right back into conversation. So
we pick up where we left off. I remember I didn't see you since nationals, right? Before I saw you the first indoor meet, and my first thing was like, oh, where'd you get those pants? And you're like, oh, you can get it here and here. Like, we're just like, I saw you like 3 minutes ago. Right?
Well, John, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for doing this too, man. Hopefully, it helps some high school kids out. It helps out some coaches, and I think gives us something to stay connected.
Yeah.
If we don't have any sports to watch.
Yeah, and it's paying forward, right? All this experience that we had with coaches who coached us, I think we have obligation to share our knowledge, our experiences like this, so people can see. I think we owe it to throwing community to continue the ball rolling, right? The hammer spinning and all that. Thank you, John. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you. All right, bye. All right, guys. I hope you took some notes. I hope you enjoyed it. Until the next episode, take care, stay safe, and throw far.